Okay, what's up, people? What's
Yeah.
up, people? We are here once again. JV Wins Dogon SS Conscious Approach. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody for hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, leaving
Mhm.
those comments. We certainly appreciate you. It's been an amazing ride on the channel the last few weeks, man. Pleased to see the engagement. Not necessarily about people telling us how right our opinions are, but also the people telling us how wrong our opinions are. Either way, we just like growing the community. So it's been pretty fun the last few weeks as we continue to crank out this logical content. And for that, major shouts out to everybody who's been hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button. And if this is your first time catching wind of what we like to do over here on this YouTube channel,
You
go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we are posting content like this onto the channel each and every day. So we welcome you and we certainly appreciate you, JV Wins Dogon SS. Now, with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and get things kicked off. First thing that we are going to talk about is this woman who you see here. If you watch The Sopranos, a classic show on HBO, this actress here. Her name is Drea De Matteo. She is most famous for playing a character on The Sopranos. She played Chris Moltisanti's girlfriend on The Sopranos. That character was played by Michael Imperioli. So she played his girlfriend, and that's what she's most famous for. Second to that, and probably at this point most infamous, since her Sopranos stint, she was one of the first sort of kind of mainstream actresses to kind of go public with going to OnlyFans. So obviously, these people doing OnlyFans is nothing new, but the majority of the people who have sort of moved on to do OnlyFans are either adult film actresses or influencers, reality TV type people. People like Larsa Pippen and people like this who think that there's value in becoming a part of her friends or community. So those are the majority of the people who we have known for the most part who have gone over to do OnlyFans. But we've also talked about what's the name of the actress who used to be on the Bernie Mac show. We recently discussed her, going to OnlyFans because her acting Hollywood money dried up, and so she decided to go to OnlyFans because she felt that it was a opportunistic avenue for her to take in lieu of her acting money and her residual checks drying up. And so this woman here, Drea De Matteo, is no different. She's on OnlyFans. She's very proud of her decision, and she will tout it and scream to the mountaintop how proud she is of her decision to join OnlyFans, how she is not looking back, how it's one of the best decisions that she could have ever made. She's very proudly entered into the modern day sexual marketplace as a sex worker, and she's not looking back, and she's not going to make any apologies for it. But the reason why she's in the news is because she recently trended for expressing how her child is a part of her OnlyFans. Her child is a part of her OnlyFans apparatus. Yeah. So she has a 13-year-old son, and her 13-year-old son is someone who helps with her OnlyFans content. So this obviously got a lot of people. This obviously got a lot of people talking. Shouts out to BJ Santana. He sent me the link for this. He DM'd me on Instagram and sent me this. So shouts out to him for forwarding along the content because it is right in line with the stuff that we like to talk about on the channel. But of course, before we get into it, we'll go ahead and talk about it briefly. So this says Drea De Matteo says her 13-year-old son helps edit her OnlyFans content. Drea De Matteo's presence on OnlyFans is very much a family effort. The Sopranos and Sons of Anarchy actor made waves when she joined the subscription-based adult streaming site last year. Appearing on the Not Today Pal podcast this week, she revealed that her 13-year-old son, Waylon, sometimes helps edit her content. He's like, so what do you want me to do with the bikini line here? De Matteo told her Sopranos co-stars
Oh,
Robert Eiler and Jamie Lynn Siegler, who co-host the podcast. As far as what content she permits Waylon and his 16-year-old sister Alabama to view, she draws the line at images that include other models, even if they aren't much racier than a love scene from one of her film or TV roles. A New York native, De Matteo has been in the headlines recently for criticizing celebrities who have endorsed President Joe Biden, though she has stopped short of publicly endorsing his Republican rival, former President Donald Trump. When she joined OnlyFans in 2023, she said she saw it as a way to generate income after being passed over for Hollywood roles because of her vocal opposition to COVID-19 vaccine mandates. She said her original goal on the site was to launch a podcast that would be co hosted by her boyfriend, Robbie Stabler, and focused on politics and current affairs. We wanted to do it there because it wouldn't be censored, and everything was being censored, she said. We have no freedom of speech anymore. The actor quickly shifted to more steamy content, and though she said she has thus far steered clear of full frontal nudity or X rated acts on the site, she's come to regard her OnlyFans work as a political statement nonetheless. I had to give myself the narrative that this is the only way I can fight for my freedom right now. And that's basically to be naked. To be naked with my beliefs. To be naked with my beliefs and my politics and what I want for my kids' future. And I think that people are so afraid right now to speak their minds. So, as always, all relevant links are in the description of this video. So you can check out that link for yourself and view that podcast in full if you'd like. You can also, of course, search for it on YouTube because it lives there. But so her 13-year-old son helps her edit some of her OnlyFans content. According to this article, she does not get naked and she does not have sex on her OnlyFans, but she does get as explicit as you can get short of doing that stuff, according to the article. But her son is involved. And then she also, doubled back by saying that she started this to start a political podcast, which is kind of weird. But be that as it may, what are your thoughts on this Drea De Matteo um, sharing that her son helps her edit her OnlyFans content? Uh,
I mean, this is as new age as you can get, man. But for sure, this is Hollywood activity. So let's not hopefully this doesn't become normal behavior from the other scallywags that are out here doing it. You know what I'm saying? But this here to me is quitting. Turning to OnlyFans is like quitting. It's like being a drug dealer. It's like don't get me wrong. Now, dealing drugs can get very intricate, but you know, you're selling drugs. And so it's just one of those default things of, hey man, you can really try out here and do something else. If you want to be independent and run your own business, you don't have to sell drugs to do it. And so same thing here. Like if you want to be independent and make your own money, you don't have to sell, your body dopamines to everybody. And that's what she's selling here. And the people that just go, hey, I don't have enough money or enough funds or a big enough platform, so let me start an OnlyFans. It seems to be the right formula for these women. So they're all doing it. The ones that join. But I would say this also on top of me looking at it like a default type of thing. It's also a thing of the attention that some of these women want, in the sense of, they get off from it too. I think from all of these guys lusting after them, and they're getting paid for it. I think that's also an incentive, to also be lusted upon in a idle kind of way. So there's a psychology aspect to that these women are getting off, and that aspect of being put on a pedestal like that. So I think that they get a little bit of kick out of it too. So that's why they keep doing it. But the part about bringing in your child, to me, I feel like that's crossing the line. I feel like that's a little too far. Even if you're not getting naked or making explicit content, if you're posing in suggestive ways, with bikini lines showing, and you know your adolescent is around here editing things, I don't think that's appropriate. You could have found somebody on Fiverr. You could have found, a fan that's willing to do it for free. So you don't have to consult your 13-year-old son and drag him into it. But again, once we're dealing with Hollywood stuff, these people expose their children to inappropriate stuff all the time. So I'm really not surprised in that aspect. But I don't like the fact that she's parading it around as if she's brave for doing this. I think that this is dangerous rhetoric, and she needs to be reprimanded for it. At least, that's my thoughts. But what about yours, sir? What are your thoughts on Miss Drea inviting her child to edit her OnlyFans content? Whoa.
So whenever we you don't look at our comments as much as I do. So a lot of times when we drop a video and it gets served up on the algorithm and a lot of people start commenting, I'll go through and I'll kind of, look at what some of the more intelligent commenters are saying. And usually there's I would say there's about a 65-35 split when it comes to these kinds of videos when we post them on the channel. And it's usually 65% of people calling us out for being unreasonable, for criticizing people like her. And the other 35% are on our side, who are kind of like, how far do we continue to push the envelope before this goes too far? Which is basically the only point that we're ever trying to make with this stuff is, how far do you push the line until the line gets pushed too far? But the majority of the people who are commenting are usually saying, who are you to judge? She can do whatever she wants with her life. It is her business. It's her money. She can make whatever choice she wants. You'll get a few people who are like, sex work is work. Basically the tenor of their comments are, we have no place to call this kind of stuff out or to criticize it, because who are we? We're not in her shoes. We have no business speaking on another grown person's, life. She's an adult. She can do whatever she wants. Blah, 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 blah. So what that says to me is that literally this is a generational thing, I feel. And when you spoke before about, when you said, what was that you said? You said, it was one of the first things you said, about how it's quitting and
like selling drugs.
Yeah. How it's kind of like an easy way out type of deal. That is the kind of talking point that is only going to resonate with people whose sensibilities are such that you sort of work to earn something through like kind of the hard work that you put in, right? So whether it's acquiring a trade, whether it's acquiring a certificate, some kind of a license, or working your way up traditionally through schooling, education, so on and so forth, right? So you strap yourself in, you put in the hard work, and then you come out on the other side with a plethora of opportunities available to you. Now, obviously, if you're a procrastinator, if you're on the lazy side, if you don't have that work ethic gene, it doesn't matter how much work you put in, things are going to be harder for you in life. But generally speaking, that kind of attitude that you expressed appeals to people whose sensibilities are most akin to the traditional model. But that's a dying sensibility. So we can scream to the mountaintop about how it's quitting and how it's taking the easy way out. But talk to these other content creators on the internet who are becoming millionaires because they're able to cash in on the currency of attention. Now, I don't agree with it and I don't like it because I've expressed this before. One of the reasons why I don't like OnlyFans is because it's a low barrier to entry. And I can acknowledge the existence of something because, hey, it's here. So who am I to sort of disavow its existence? So I can acknowledge the existence of something. That doesn't mean that I have to respect it. and I don't respect OnlyFans because it's a low barrier to entry, and it basically benefits almost exclusively women because it's a visual medium, and visual mediums liken themselves to things that are more visually alluring. And no one cares about how a man looks half naked for the most part. The sex industry is tailor made for women because women are the more visually alluring of the two genders. Therefore, OnlyFans is something that is a very low barrier to entry that almost exclusively benefits women. And I don't respect it because of its low barrier to entry. And I'm saying that because this chick was an actress on one of the most famous, one of the most heralded television shows of all time. How are you investing your money to see to it that in the long run, you don't have to do OnlyFans if you don't want to? Something tells me that she opted to get into OnlyFans because maybe she really did recognize it as an option that was one of few. But to your point, I also think she got into it because she realizes that as a woman, she can benefit off of the modern sexual marketplace that pretty much only benefits women. And
Mhm.
it's a low barrier to entry. Let me get my laptop, let me get my phone, let me get my tablet, and I'm off to the races. All I got to do is just put on sexy outfits, which I already do in my private time anyway. All I'm doing is just doing it in front of a camera. So I just don't respect it because of its low barrier to entry. Now, all y'all out there who are going to leave comments talking about how out of place I am for talking about how much I don't respect it, it is what it is. I just don't respect it, and I never will because of its extreme low barrier to entry. But moreover, what I like to talk about whenever we do touch on these OnlyFans topics is like, where do you draw the line between like maintaining something in its proper place and just sort of pushing it out into the mainstream as just this generalized thing that everyone does, and so it's no big deal. One of the main trepidations that I have with OnlyFans, and I totally see this happening in the near future, is that sex work is just going to be perceived as a job that you work. I've talked about that on this channel before. It's not that in and of itself OnlyFans exists, but it's that it's becoming normalized so much so that as the days and the weeks and the months and the years progress, we as humans are becoming more desensitized to the idea that sex working and OnlyFans is something that you truly resort to as a last measure because maybe certain things didn't work out. And so you need to do this in order to keep yourself up or to get on. But it's becoming less so that as an option that people seek. And it's more so becoming, I don't need to get out here and do this hard work. I'm going to just get on OnlyFans. I've talked before about how people ain't on hard work anymore. It's why service across the board is ass. The pandemic created all of these microeconomies that traditional service, traditional brick and mortar is almost dead. I
Mhm.
don't know when's the last time anyone's been in a retail store or a grocery store, but service is in the pits. No one wants to work. Everyone is overworked and underpaid. No one wants to do anything. And no one cares about providing good service because the prevailing wisdom nowadays is I don't need to work hard for anything. I can just get on the internet. And and that is becoming the prevailing wisdom so much so that we're so desensitized to the idea that I'm gonna just hop on this OnlyFans and make this money that now women like her are bringing in their kids to help them, and
That's crazy.
they're truly turning it into a family business because the idea is I don't need to shield my kids from this anymore. It's out there in the ether so much. What do I need to protect them from? What, like, we're introducing these kids into this kind of content at such a young and early age they're so impressionable that we're pushing the envelope further and further and further. Like, we are moving the goalpost to the point where these kids are going to be toddlers and they're going to have a firm grasp on what sexually explicit content is because we just don't care anymore. We just don't give a damn. No one cares about protecting these delicate humans, giving them time to understand the full grasp of what these things mean. This kid's 13 years old. In my opinion, he shouldn't be
No,
introduced to content of this nature at this age, even
no.
if she's not getting naked or going the full route. I don't care. He's 13. He's still in middle school.
Mhm.
if he even goes to school. I don't know the way everyone does all of this alternative stuff nowadays. But there's no sanctity in anything anymore. And when anyone dissents against it, it's like, who are you to speak on it? Well, I'm somebody who's conscientious of the world. And if I don't like something, I'm going to criticize it. And you can disagree with my opinion if you want. That's fine. But the thing about it is, where do we continue to draw the line? It's going to continue to get pushed. And I talked before about my firm belief. Well, I don't know. Things are real crazy politically right now, but as things smooth over, if the pendulum doesn't get swung too far in any extreme direction, I really do feel like things like prostitution are just going to become legal, like across the board nationally. Like I totally see that happening. It's going to be like weed, where if you want to indulge in some paid strange change, all you got to do is just hit up your local dispensary and boom, it's right there on every other corner. I can just get it in however I feel, because we're just sort of pushing the envelope on desensitizing our population to things that should be measured with respect to how decent we perceive them to be. And this to me is an indication of that, where she has her kid editing her photos, I'm guessing. And all you gotta do is do a Google search. Do a Google search. Do a Google search. Do a Google image search of Drea De Matteo's OnlyFans. And it's gonna give you some Google appropriate results. And if you think that it's normal, appropriate, decent for her 13-year-old child to help her with this content, then I guess you're on that 65% of the aisle who's going to criticize me for these views. But I just kind of feel like certain things need to be kept in the box, in the Pandora's box in which they belong. Sex work and OnlyFans is one of those things. I alone am not powerful enough to prevent that from happening. But if you ask me, we are just totally deconstructing everything right before our very eyes. And if we can start, and if we continue to push the envelope, pretty soon it's going to be a situation where these chicks who actually do go all the way with this content are going to have their kids editing that stuff too. And the day that that happens, where does that leave us? I'm not exactly sure.
Hey man, and honestly, for the people that say that, let her live her life and that's her body, and all that stuff's cool. You know, that is, and it's true. I don't care like that. But the overall ramifications of these things is the issue. Like individually, this lady, like I don't really care about this lady. She can pop her thought pocket as much as she wants. You know, it's not going to change how my bowel movements work. But still, what she's doing here is the normalization and honestly, the dependency of sick people. Now, I'll admit it myself, man. When I was deep diving on, these websites, it was no pride in that. Okay, it was no pride when I was doing certain searches. I was like, man, you really typed that in the search browser? Yeah, I did. But then it's like, hey, man, you gotta get over this. You gotta stop doing this. And so there was a shame in it, even though I was doing it.
Yeah.
So the part I'm trying to get to is that shame or whatever, that's in everybody, I would hope. And they're like, hey man, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing a real thing. And so that whole thing is a sickness that these guys got. We got to work. We got, as men in society, we got to work this out.
Yes.
And so this whole thing here is that, like you said, them creating a family business out of this is basically a dependency that, these sick people will always exist.
Yes.
And so, and my thing is, now, granted, if there's a bro out there, you got one or two subs, bro. Like, I'm not calling you like a sick person, but what I'm getting at is that you're not a sick person because you have those things. But what I'm saying is, sick people be having those things, and people get to a place where they didn't even know they would be at if they keep going down the line of this addiction. So dependency on an addiction like this, and just women just knowing, like, what, if all else fails, I'll just show feet. And that's wild, that's the rep of men right now. But they ain't wrong, because this lady here,
Right.
people paying for this.
Yep. Yeah.
This they funding a revolution. Now she going to fund a podcast for political stuff. So yeah, man, this is wild stuff, man. So I agree with you, man. I look at the overall ramifications of this stuff. I look at the big picture. Individually, this lady can do whatever she can. It's a gold rush now. Get your bag, I guess. Trade it in, trade your dignity in for some cash. I bet that feels good too.
But that's but that's the point. The point that I try to make with this the social reconstruction of it is she and I 100% agree with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about her individually. It's about the greater societal impact
Mm-hmm.
of the continued normalization of the behavior. She's an agent of the idea that doing this isn't compromising your dignity. You see what I'm
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah.
and so that's the pushing of the envelope that I'm referring to.
Yeah.
It's like this is more so like a prestigious thing to do, or at least that's the idea that they're trying to push, in my opinion.
Right.
Which is why I speak on the idea that this is becoming normalized so much so that it's like another job. Like punch in, punch out. But instead of going to my law firm for a day's work, instead of going to the doctor's office because I'm a PA or a nurse for my day's work, right? Instead of going to my architecture firm because I'm an architect, or instead of going in to, I'm a civil engineer and I work for the state. So, like, instead of going to those places to do my earned day's work, my gratifying day's work,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this. And the pushing of the envelope is the idea that there's just as much dignity in doing this as being an artist. And I truly, that's how I feel. That's what I feel is happening more and more as these agents continue to flood this market. It's the idea that me doing this carries with it just as much dignity and self-respect as being an architect or an engineer, i.e., there is no loss of dignity. So who are you to talk about me? This is just as dignifying as the next profession. That's the kind of pushing of the envelope that I believe is taking place with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the more widespread it becomes, the more trepidatious I am for the broader societal impact of it. And I don't necessarily think that that's such a crazy, unreasonable take to have, because and here's another thing, and this is the last thing I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about people's inherent narcissism, that's where people are coming from, who want to look at it from an individualized standpoint of don't judge her, don't judge him. He, she, they can do whatever they want. It's their life, it's whatever. Who are you to judge? You ain't, what are you doing with your life? Who are you to talk about them? They're a grown person, you're a grown person. Why are you talking about them? That's an individualistic way of looking at it. And most people look at things individualistic nowadays because we've lost the art of looking at it from a communal standpoint, because everybody's on constant narcissistic mode due to the instant gratification that their internet feeds give them. So all of these various factors are coalescing into an environment where people like her bring her kids into her activity pridefully. So, it's just a crazy situation. But, I caution anybody to think about whether this is the kind of world that we want to live in 50 years from now. And by no means am I this ultra conservative who wants everybody to walk around with parkas and large dresses on. It's not that. It's just the continued normalization of of the proliferation of the sexual marketplace. That, in my opinion, isn't the best thing in the world.
Yeah, and my thing here, and this is the last thing I'll say is, my whole thing is I want people to sleep good at night. And what I mean by that is, I want, if this woman here, for example, I want her to sleep good at night. Some people sleep good at night because their bills paid. That's a great sleep. But then there's other things that haunt them. And if there's any type of way that this stuff has negative psychological effects on people, where they can't have relationships the way they want to, or they can't move through life the way they want to because they got all these things going on, then can you sleep at night with that? Because then later on, we hear these people hollering and complaining like, this ain't the lifestyle for me no more. I can't connect with people no more. So if you want to trade one for the other, be my guest, you know. And so I don't mind what life you choose. I'm trying to make sure you sleep good at night. So have at it, Miss Drea. I hope your son sleep good at night from you putting this on his at 13. So that's all I'm caring about. And if he sleeps
Right.
good at night, hey man, fine. But if he needs a therapist when he's 32, don't get mad at me now. So have at it, y'all. Good luck.
Yeah. 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 Shouts out to BJ Santana for the
Yeah,
content. We
for sure.
appreciate it. And yeah, fellas, man, get off the OnlyFans, bro. Put the OnlyFans
Yeah,
down.
man, we're trying to
Put
help. Man.
put all of it down, man. Put the streaming sites, just put it all down. Because you're right. The only reason why this chick can even get on OnlyFans and sustain something is because there's a market for it, because so many of us feed the beast. So
Mm-hmm.
get off this, man. You put the OnlyFans down, bro. I promise you, you'll be better off for it.
Yeah, man. Give it up.
Oh.